Hello learners, today in this video we'll explain institutional sources of rural credit and the causes of rural indebtedness and some suggestions to solve the problem of rural indebtedness. Institutional sources of rural credit. The Government of India has adopted different measures to supply rural credit through institutional sources. Government has stressed on cooperative commercial banks and some specially created banks to meet the growing demand for agricultural credit. Here we'll discuss the role of Reserve Bank of India, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, and regional rural banks supplying rural credits. So let us first start with RBI and rural credit. The Reserve Bank of India was established in 1935. Since its inception, the RBI has been performing an important role in providing agricultural credit. In the year of inception, the RBI opened a separate agricultural loan department. The RBI has attached great importance to agricultural credit. This agricultural loan department has three main functions: to supervise agricultural credit activities and conduct research on this subject. Number two, to advise central government, state governments, state cooperative societies, and other banking institutions. And number three, to provide finance to state cooperative banks and other institutions engaged in agricultural finance. As per recommendations of All India Rural Credit Survey Committee, the RBI created two funds. One, National Agricultural Credit, that is long-term fund, and the other is National Agricultural Credit or Stabilization Fund. State cooperative banks, land development banks, and credit societies get long-term loan from the National Agricultural Credit Fund, and farmers get loan from the National Agricultural Credit Fund when if they fail to repay the old loans due to flood, drought, etc. The RBI provides short-term credit to the state cooperative banks at the low rate of interest for agricultural marketing. The RBI has been playing a remarkable role in providing agricultural credit and developing credit infrastructure. Indian farmers are poor, they need finance. The RBI has been trying to remove this constraint. Next is NABARD and rural credit. In order to meet the credit requirements of agriculture, the RBI has established National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, which is called NABARD, in 1982. This bank now works as the apex bank for supplying finance for agricultural activities and rural development. It has taken over the agricultural credit functions of the RBI and the refinance functions of the Agricultural Refinance and Development Corporation ARDC. And the management of NABARD is vested on a board of directors consisting of 15 members. And one of the deputy governors of RBI is the NABARD's chairman. Now let us know the functions of NABARD. NABARD refinances credit for agriculture, small and cottage industries, and allied activities in rural sector. It provides credit to state cooperative banks, regional rural banks, land development banks, and any financial institution recognized by the RBI. NABARD conducts all the agricultural credit activities of the RBI. NABARD performs refinance activities of Agricultural Refinance and Development Corporation ARDC. NABARD provides loan to the state governments for purchasing the share of capital of cooperative credit societies. NABARD provides financial assistance to any institution which is recognized by the government and which is associated with agricultural and rural development. NABARD also tries to coordinate the activities of Planning Commission and the government organization associated with development of small and cottage industries. NABARD supervises the activities of RRBs, cooperative banks, and other primary cooperative banks. NABARD conducts research on agriculture and rural development. NABARD works as a representative of RBI in the activities of relating to rural credit. But the main problem faced by NABARD at present is its large amount of bad debt. One study shows that 40% of loans sanctioned by NABARD has not been repaid by farmers. And if this trend continues, there is every doubt how long NABARD will be able to finance agriculture and its allied activities. So the authorities should seriously think over this problem that is related to NABARD. Next is RRBs, that is regional rural banks and rural credit. The regional rural banks were established as a part of 20-point economic program on 2nd October 1975, and initially 5 regional banks were established under this, and at present there are more than 200 RRBs in India. A rural bank may be said as a primary banking institution set up to serve a compact group of village, generally working as a cooperative or as a subsidiary of a commercial bank. And the main purpose of the rural bank is to provide banking and credit facilities to the rural people. So let us see the functions of RRBs. The first, to mobilize local savings by means of various types of deposits. So it inculcate banking habits in the rural people. It also mobilized savings by way of deposits and lending the same for productive purposes. Number two, to provide short-term and middle-term credit for agriculture and allied activities. Number three, to provide long-term loans to farmers as agent of the Land Development Bank. Number four, to provide various ancillary banking services to local people such as remittance of funds, acceptance of insurance premium, safe deposit lockers, and so on. Fifth, to set up and maintain godowns in rural sector. To provide assistance in the marketing and agricultural and other products through marketing organizations, and to undertake supply of inputs and farm equipments to farmers as an agent. Now let us see the problems of rural credit in India. Rural or agricultural credit in India has some specific features, and these are also its problems. First, the main feature or problem of rural credit is its insufficiency. To maintain the cost of agricultural activity and to make permanent improvement on land, farmers need finance, but they cannot generally mobilize the required amount of finance. Secondly, another problem of rural credit is its untimely receipt. Agricultural activity is seasonal. Farmers require credit in some seasons of the year, but they do not generally get credit in time. Next, in India, farmers are unorganized and they cannot take any organized steps to get agricultural credit. Moreover, they are illiterate, so it is very difficult for them to take credit from organized or institutional sources. Next, providing long-term credit to agriculture sector is very risky. Agricultural production depends on vagaries of monsoon. There is uncertainty in farmers' income. Even if harvest is good, income may fall due to heavy fall in price of crops. Therefore, it is very risky to give term credit to farmers. Next, poor farmers have so many unfulfilled demands. Hence, they often spend their income, that is credit, in family consumption purpose. Then it becomes difficult to repay the debt. For this reason, many financial institutions are unwilling to provide credit to the rural people. Next, there is predominance of landlords and moneylenders in rural credit. They charge high rate of interest. In the case of default, they appropriate the land of farmers and the farmers become landless laborers. But they depend on non-institutional finance because of its promptness and easy accessible. So we find the problem of indebtedness of the Indian farmer is a very important problem. Most of the farmers live in abject poverty and they have to borrow for many reasons. They borrow in the event of crop failure, illness, accident, sudden fall in agricultural price. The Indian farmers borrow year after year, but they are not in a position to repay all the debts. As a result, the debt of the farmers goes on increasing. This is known as the problem of rural indebtedness. Now let us find out the causes of rural indebtedness. The most important cause of rural indebtedness is poverty. Farmers' income is low, so they have no past saving. Whenever there is any crop failure, they are forced to borrow. Further, to make some improvements on their land, they have to borrow. Second, a large part of the present debt of the farmers is inherited by them. In many cases, the bonded laborers remain bonded, often for generations. And that is why it is said that the Indian farmers is born in debt, lives in debt, and dies in debt. Next, farmers incur certain unproductive expenditures. These are needed for celebrating marriages, religious festivals, and different ceremonies. Farmers cannot meet these expenses out of their earnings or savings, and therefore they are forced to take loans. As these loans are not productive, they remain unpaid and increase with the passage of time. Moreover, Indian farmers are found to be involved in various kinds of disputes. These disputes often force them to go to court of laws. The legal processes the legal process is highly expensive in India. To meet these expenses, farmers have to take loans, which further raise the burden of indebtedness. Next is backward and uncertain agriculture is another cause of rural indebtedness. Most of the agricultural activities depend on weather conditions. There is no certainty about repayment of even productive loans. If there is a crop failure, farmers become unable to repay loans. This increases the indebtedness of the farmers. Finally, we can say that the village moneylenders are also responsible for rural indebtedness. These moneylenders are interested to grab the land of small farmers. They encourage the farmers to take loans against the mortgage of land. When the farmers cannot repay the loans, they take away the land of the farmers. Once caught by the moneylender, the farmer cannot generally come out of his clutches. It is said that loans from moneylenders support the farmer as the hangman's rope support the hanged. Now let us see some suggestions to solve the problem of indebtedness in India. The problem of rural indebtedness in India is to be solved by taking two types of measures. One, the burden of old debts should be reduced by suitable measures, and measures should be taken such that demand for new loans does not increase and the new loans are used for productive purposes only. We have some measures, some suggestions that solve the problems of rural indebtedness. Number one, income of the poor farmers should be increased. And if it happened, then they will not be forced to take loans. For this, land reform measures should be strictly implemented. Number two, small farmers should be desisted from incurring wasteful expenditures. Means they will do productive expenditure. Next, sufficient amount of institutional credit should be available in rural areas, and terms of these credits should be made more liberal. So, rural people will be attracted towards institutional credit. Next, old debts are to be eliminated and future indebtedness is to be controlled. Poor farmers should be prevented from selling their lands to the moneylenders. And measures should be taken so that the small farmers get fair prices for their crops. Next, surplus and unsold crops of the farmers are to be stored properly. So they must be provided storage facility for their surplus or unsold crops. More cooperative banks and cooperative credit societies are to be set up in rural areas, which will fulfill the demand for credit of rural people. For this purpose, the central and state governments have adopted some measures, but these measures are either incomplete or insufficient, and they are not properly implemented. Hence, the problem of rural indebtedness could not be removed from the Indian economy. So, thank you.